What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another special off-season interview here on Dinger Dudes. Of course, I am Andrew. Alongside me, my brother Chase, as always. He's actually going to be joining me at the same desk today due to some technical issues that we've been having. And then, of course, we got Jackson on his end. And then we have a very special guest. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, first of all, welcome to the show. Let the fans know who you are and give a quick little introduction if you don't mind.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I'm Aaron McGarity, professional baseball player. I spent my college experience was at Virginia Tech. I graduated from there in 2017, and then the Yankees drafted me in that same year in 17. Played with them for 7 years, all up and down their system from rookie ball all the way to AAA. And then my time ended with them in 2023 with the conclusion of that season. And then I was a free agent for the first time. Just a fancy way of saying I was unemployed. Didn't have a job. So then I was, not scrambling, but I was, trying to find a place to play, trying to find a way to continue my career. I signed a contract in Mexico to play for the Jalisco Charros. They're out of Guadalajara, Mexico. But the great thing about all the Mexican contracts is that there's a no buyout clause. So then a month after that, on February 1st, I was able to sign a contract in affiliated ball with the White Sox, and then I played this entire 2024 season in AAA Charlotte, North Carolina for the White Sox.
So I guess this is not really one of my interview questions. This is just out of curiosity. Are you currently a free agent right now, or are you still employed with the White Sox minor league organization?
So I'm a free agent now, which
Okay.
is pretty
Okay.
typical. Free agent contracts in the minor leagues are typically 1 year contracts. Sometimes they
Mhm.
do sign guys to 2 year contracts, but in my case, it was a 1 year contract. So 5 days after the World Series ends, the contract expires. You become a free agent, and then winter meetings for all the teams were this past week in Texas, and I'm looking forward to possibly hearing some offers here in the, early on into the new year.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, first, I guess for my first interview question, we'll just kind of get down to the basics and how this whole thing started for you. So my first question is going to be, what initially drew you to baseball, and how did your time at Mills E. Godwin High School shape your journey in the sport?
Yeah. Let's go all the way back. Sure. So I started playing baseball when I was 5 years old, like a lot of us do, all the way through T-ball,
Right.
uh, machine pitch, coach pitch, and then obviously up into, kid pitch. And I did it all, man. I played at the same little league as, Justin Verlander.
Oh,
He went to
wow.
He went to Tuckahoe Little League. He's
Oh, yeah.
obviously, yeah, he's like 10 or maybe 12 years older than me. So by the time
Mhm.
he was at ODU and then, making his way in professional baseball, I was just getting started in high school. But I just loved it. I loved it ever since, I started pitching, and I fell in love with it when I was 10 or 11 years old, and stuck with it. And, I didn't realize until I was about 16 years old that I could even make a career or even go to college to do this. I remember when I was 16, a coach sat me down and was like, "Hey, Aaron, you're pretty good at baseball. You could play college if you wanted to." And I was like, I never
Yeah.
thought about it that way before. So that's when I really put in a little bit more work in the weight room, and I went from 6 foot, 130 pounds. I was a string bean. My sophomore year to my junior year, I was 6'3" and 165 pounds. So I gained a lot of weight. I started throwing a lot harder, and that's kind of what opened up a lot of opportunities for college and then professional baseball as I, continued my career.
Perfect. Well, oh, sorry, were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say, don't worry about being a string bean. Me and Angie know all about that.
We get called that all the time, man. No,
I was watching Jackson and he pointed at us as soon as he said string bean.
so yeah, we can relate to you there a little bit. But I guess to segue into my next question. Oh, unless Jackson, you want to go and ask yours first, that'd actually probably be better.
Well, I was going to ask related to Virginia Tech and after that. Originally, you were drafted in 2016 by the Red Sox, but then opted to be drafted in 2017, starting your pro career with the New York Yankees. What was it like getting a call from such a historic organization like the Yankees? And what made you want to take like your final year eligibility at Virginia Tech?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was a pretty unique situation for me. I tore my ACL, my right ACL in my knee, in my draft year in
Hmm.
2016. So the Yankees were interested in signing me that year, but we couldn't quite agree on a number. So I elected to, go back to school and use that last year of eligibility. I was, I had in my mind, I was like, I have another year of eligibility. I'm able to go back to school. I'm able to get my degree, and I'll still be an athletic junior. I'll have 2 years of athletic eligibility left, so I'll be able to use that leverage in the draft in the following year. And it worked out well, and I got drafted in the 15th round in 2017 by the Yankees, and to be drafted by such a historic franchise, like you said, was an honor, and I was able to do well enough to finish the entirety of my rookie contract, 7 years with them, and I learned a lot. It was awesome. My time with the Yankees was awesome, and hopefully I can keep this dream going, keep this dream alive, and hopefully make the big leagues this year.
Sure, absolutely. And of course, throughout your baseball career, you've experienced a lot of different elements, I guess, that most players might have not experienced during their time. So, of course, in contrast to minor league baseball, you recently played in the Venezuelan Professional Baseball League. So can you give us a little intel on how does that atmosphere and style of play compare to what you've experienced in the minors?
Yeah. Venezuela was a great experience as well. Great learning experience. The competition down there was fierce.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of professional guys with historic MLB careers. I played alongside Alcides Escobar. I played alongside Yasiel Puig. I mean, guys who
There we
have,
go.
pretty storied professional careers. Ozzie Guillen was the manager for the Tiburones, for the team that I was playing on down there. And it was awesome. I was the only American on the team, so I was a little bit of a stranger in their world down there. But my 5 weeks down there were fantastic. They were very nice. The food was great. The people were great. My teammates were awesome and very welcoming. And then just the atmosphere around baseball down there was nothing that I had ever seen before. As far as the fans go, I mean, the fans absolutely live, breathe, love baseball down there. And you would never know that you were in like another country. You're like, dude, this is the most high level. This is the most high level baseball that I had ever been a part of. It was almost like 4A. It was a like a step above AAA, but not quite the same intensity as the big leagues. But it was just as competitive.
So did you go out there kind of with the same pitching style that you've always had in your career, or did like the style of play down there kind of force you to switch things up a little bit?
The baseballs down there was the biggest hurdle. So in AAA and all the minor leagues up here, we use Rawlings baseballs. And I'm not a guy who is going to blow velocity by a lot of guys. I sit around 90 to 91 miles an hour. And I really have to pitch, and I really have to mix it up and keep hitters off balance if I'm going to have success. And then when I went down there, I think I only threw 5 or so innings, probably had 6 or 7 outings, and I didn't have a lot of success in Venezuela if you look at my numbers, but I had a tremendous amount of success in the minor leagues. So I think a lot of what that has to do with is the baseballs and the increased competition. But like I said, it was a great learning experience, and hopefully it doesn't, hurt my chances at all getting signed for this upcoming year in the spring.
Right, of course.
Well, Chase, if you want to ask your question.
Oh, well, I was just going to actually ask about actually pointing towards your 2024 season, because we saw that you had a very impressive stat. You went 8-5 with a 2.77 ERA. So as a free agent, I want to ask, how are you approaching the next phase of your career, and what factors will play into your decision on where you want to sign next?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, like you said, I had a pretty, I had a career year. One of the better years of my career, if not the best. And I think I'll have really good opportunities for the spring and signing back with a team. I'd like to go back with the White Sox if I'm able to. I enjoyed my time with them. They gave me an opportunity to continue my career after the Yankees. So if I'm able to sign back with them, I'd like to, but I'd also, if other teams come knocking before the White Sox offer me, then I'll entertain all offers that come my way. But I mean, there's really no better place in minor league baseball than Charlotte, North Carolina, in my opinion. But that's obviously not the end goal. I hope to make the big leagues. And the White Sox in that front, there's a lot of opportunities in that organization to be able to break into the big leagues and to showcase my stuff.
I've been to that stadium in Charlotte, and especially at night, it is one of the best minor league. It tops some major league parks in my opinion. I did want to ask, going back to your time with the Yankees, after spending time in the Yankees organization, specifically your earlier part of your career, pre-COVID era, you have guys like CeCe Sabathia, Jordan Montgomery in that organization. Were there any guys that you like learned after as a young pitcher in that organization?
I wouldn't say I learned specifically from one guy. It was really the organization as a whole.
Mm.
The way that the Yankees go about developing their players, they give you all the tools that you need in order to be the best that you can be. They're excellent in pitch design. It's where I learned my sweeper. It's where I learned my cutter. It's where I kind of became the pitcher that I am today. Um, and even though I wasn't throwing my hardest, and obviously the Yankees value that, and a lot of other teams in the league value velocity. But even though I wasn't throwing very hard, the Yankees gave me a shot to showcase myself, and I had a really good career with them until that 2023 year where I kind of fell off a little bit. Um, but there was so many guys in that organization: Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton,
Mhm.
uh, all these guys that I played along with in big league spring training in that year of 2023. There's so many great role models in that organization to be able to model your style after. So I mean that organization was phenomenal. I'm grateful for my time with them.
I did want to ask very quick about the COVID era, the year after 2019. So I know you had Tommy John surgery. How did you stay motivated during the recovery process, and what was that like for you?
Another good one. Another good one. Yeah, Tommy John surgery is typically around 11 to 13, maybe 14 months to get back to full strength. And it took me, I think, 13 months before I was back in a game again after having surgery. Um, but to stay motivated, it's really looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, and that is getting back to where you were prior to surgery. And a lot of guys, when they have Tommy John surgery, it's a year long, and it's hard for guys to stay focused on that light, and on the ultimate goal of making the big leagues. So it's really just focusing on what you're able to do every single day. So doing a little bit every single day, making sure you're staying on top of the rehab, and taking small steps, because you're not going to get back to where you were in one day. You really just got to make the most of each day that's put in front of you. And I was able to do that, and had a really good year in 2022 coming off of that Tommy John surgery.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And correct me if I'm wrong. So outside of playing the sport, you serve as a TSA driveline instructor, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I work over at Tuckahoe Little League, where I grew up playing,
Right.
and I work with some of the youth athletes over there, trying to help them
Sweet.
throw a little bit harder and become better pitchers. And in teaching younger kids, you learn a little bit about yourself as well, and it helps me stay sharp. So giving back to the next generation of athletes, it's a win-win. It's good for them to learn from a guy who is in my position, and it's great for me to be able to you know basically re-solidify that foundation that I've built for myself in my career.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was wanting to ask. Just want to know what it was like, just being not only just playing as a pitcher currently, but then also translating your talents into these younger kids and helping mentor them as they're also trying to potentially join the league themselves. So very awesome to hear that you're also giving back to the youth and teaching them what you learned along the years as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime I have the opportunity to give back, I love to. I mean, my time in Charlotte, there was a lot of opportunities to work within the community. Going to the Children's Hospital there in Charlotte. A lot of the connections that we had down there, I was able to work within the community um, to be able to share baseball with everybody there, and to share baseball here back home in Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
So I'm very thankful for the opportunity I find myself in, to be able to continue my career, and to, like you said, share my skill set with the next generation of athletes.
And aside from sharing your skill set, we've interviewed a good bit of minor league players, prior to this interview, and a lot of them I'm sure you can agree with this as well, is that the minor league system, just trying to grind through the system, trying to, get to the next rank is one of the toughest challenges that any professional baseball player has to go through in their entire career, which is why I think people say that baseball is the hardest sport to get pro in. And I still think that holds true today. So when you're, mentoring these kids, and we like to always ask, these baseball players this question at the end of the interviews, but what specific advice do you give these kids as they inspire to be professional baseball players one day, just based off all the experiences you've experienced yourself already?
Yeah. The biggest thing is that it's a mental challenge. A lot of these kids I see myself in. I see where I was, back at their age, and I see what they're going through, and it brings back a lot of memories on how I thought about the game growing up, and I see that fire in their eyes, and I really just try to keep that fire going for them. And to say that you can do this if you want to do it, and that's the key. It's like if you want to become a collegiate athlete, a professional athlete, whatever their ultimate goal is, I really try to give them the confidence that they're able to achieve those goals. And the way to achieve them is to stay dedicated and to stay hungry and to stay chasing that dream, because all it takes is a little bit of work each day to be able to really maximize your talents and to achieve those goals, and to emphasize the school and the learning part of it as well.
Right.
Because it's really not a lot of guys who find themselves in my position, 7-8 years in the minor league system. A lot of guys end at college, or a lot of guys end at high school, but whatever the natural course is for these young players' career, I try to, I try to show that these guys can achieve those goals if they put in the work.
Absolutely. Well, Chase, do you have any further questions?
Well, yes, I actually have a very, I guess, a fun question to ask. I'm very interested on this. So I know as part of the minor leagues, if there's a new rule or slight change that the MLB wants to make, they will use the minor league as, I guess, kind of like a test run to see how it would do in an actual baseball game. So this past year, correct me if I'm wrong, the minor league, they were in part of testing out the pitch challenge, correct? Like challenging the call of the
Correct.
pitch. Okay, so I want to know your personal opinion on this. Do you personally like the idea of challenging a pitch? Did it run well in the minor leagues? And what's your thoughts on potentially bringing that role to the major league?
It's a fantastic question, and you're exactly right. They do test a lot of new rule changes in the minor leagues that may or may not make their way into the big leagues. And this year in AAA, they had the challenge system. So the way the challenge system works for the people listening to the podcast, and they might only watch Major League Baseball and they don't know how the challenge system would work in the minors. It works like this: the pitcher, the catcher, or the hitter can challenge the umpire's call immediately after it's been made. So, for example, say there's a strike call that happens at the plate that the hitter didn't agree with. He can tap the top of his head, and then the umpire will take his hat off and say, "Hey, the hitter has challenged the call of a strike." The video board will light up, and they'll have an automated strike zone pop up on the board, and the ball will enter into the zone, and you'll see in the automatic strike zone whether it was truly a strike or a ball. And if you get the challenge right, then you keep your challenges for the rest of the game. But if you get the challenges wrong, you're allowed 2 incorrect challenges. So I think I challenged 3 times this year and got 2 out of the 3 correct. So typically the hitter or the catcher would challenge it. The pitchers typically don't challenge it too often. Because there's typically a little bit there's typically a little bit of an emotional response for pitchers. They throw a ball, they think it's a strike, and the umpire calls it a ball, and they're like, I want that pitch to be a strike, and he really wants to tap the top of his head to challenge it and get that strikeout call or strike call. But the way that we did it in Charlotte, a lot of times the catcher would be the guys challenging that pitch because they have the best view of that strike zone. So I think, I think the challenge system has a good chance of making it up to the big leagues. I don't think it'll ever be fully automated. I think the umpires won't allow that to happen. I think they realize that if the game goes fully automated, that umpires will impact the game less and less and less.
Yep.
If they implemented that in the big leagues, and I don't think the umpires would allow that to happen. But I could see the challenge system going up, and I think that provides a level of fan interaction that could be entertaining in the big leagues. So I could see that happening, the challenges.
Absolutely. And I know that a human error is indeed part of the game, but it's in
Angel
the
Hernandez.
majors. Well, exactly my point, Jackson. We've seen way too many times throughout the years games go sideways because of a missed strike call or missed ball call. So when I heard that the major leagues or the minor leagues were testing the system, I was very excited because I'm all for it. I don't want the game to go fully automated. I do want the umpires to have control of the game. However, I do want the option that if like a critical part of the game might miss a call, I do love having the option to challenge a call, to reverse it or not reverse it, so that way games aren't impacted by human error.
100%. I completely agree. I love the human element of the umpire in the game. I think it provides an even playing field for both teams with that human element. But like you said, I think having that, just the ability, two challenges a game. The volume of challenges used to be 3 at the start of the year, so it used to be having 3 challenges. They lowered it to 2. But I think it's a great adjustment to be able to, like you said, to be able to change those impactful moments that are at the behest of umpires in crucial situations. And if you have a challenge in the 7th and 8th inning and you didn't burn that challenge early on in the game, it's a lot of fun to be, have a 3-2 count, the batter's up there, you throw a close pitch, and the umpire calls it a ball. It's like, that could be the make or break moment of a game. And if you can swing it, then, it totally changes the momentum of the game, which I think is very exciting.
It's pretty quick and easy, right? Like it's pretty quick review. Like they flash on the board, you see if it's right, and they move on, right? So it's not like a challenge that lingers on and takes a while. It's like quick and easy, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's very quick and easy, and it's only on ball and strike calls. So it's it can take 10 or 15 seconds. It's not like a challenge in football where they go to the booth and they sit there and it takes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minutes in order to finally come to a decision on what actually happened. It's a very quick review. The fans get to see it on the video board in real time. So it's a quick review, and it's an exciting review because you get to see the visual up there on the board. So I think it should make its way to the big leagues if they're tossing that idea around. I would love to see it up in the big leagues.
I've always had an interesting perspective on that because I know you talked about how umpires are being a little cautious of not making the game too automated, but I always wondered how that rule would also come into play with a catcher's framing, because I know framing is a big part of a catcher's job behind the plate. And, Chase and I, we're big Florida State fans. So Buster Posey, one of my all-time favorite catchers, probably my favorite catcher of all time, and he really prided himself in how he framed pitches. So I wonder if the challenge were to make its way in the majors, how that would affect the catcher's framing, because it wouldn't really matter if a pitcher challenges a call and how the catcher frames it, because it's all going to be based on where the ball passed the strike zone. So yeah, I've always kind of had that thought circling in my head as well.
Yeah, no, and to comment on that, you're exactly right. If the challenges, or if it went fully automated, that would do away completely with framing.
Yes.
If it was completely automated. But the fact that it's 2 challenges, and you have to use them very sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just challenge in the first inning on a 0-0 count. It's like you really have to use these challenges strategically in order to get the most value out of them. So that's what I think that's why I think the balance of the challenge system is so great, because the framing for catchers is still a huge skill. Because for 99% of the game, that frame is going to matter because the umpire is still calling the game. But it's helpful in the sense that, for example, if I'm throwing to an inside corner, trying to throw a ball inside, and I miss my location, I throw it to the outside corner of the plate, and the catcher has a hard time receiving it because I missed my spot by 18 inches or 20 inches, whatever it is. And if the catcher receives it poorly, but it's still a strike, I can challenge that pitch and steal a call, even if the catcher didn't do his, he wasn't able to receive it well, but I can still get that call if it is there in the strike zone.
That's a good point. That's a good thought.
I was gonna say, well, since Chase got to ask fun questions and we only have left, I know again, I ask this pretty much every interview, and I love these answers. But you played in Charlotte, you've played in New York when you were in the minors. Did you ever have a pregame or postgame meal or just fun rituals you did with your teammates? Because I know New York has good pizza up there. Because we went up to New York in March.
That's very true. They do.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. They got very, very good pizza. The best pizza I've ever had, to stay on the topic of pizza, was there in Somerset, New Jersey. And the fact that I'm not remembering, gosh, I wish I could remember the place's name. I could get it to you here in a second, but the best pizza was there in Somerset, New Jersey. And I don't know if you guys know, Dave Portnoy with Barstool has
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Yeah. And the place that we were at in Somerset had one of his top rated pizzas, was there, and we would go there a couple times during the season, and the owner of the place would have us there. They'll have the whole AA team out there.
That's crazy.
To be able to have pizza at his place. But as far as like rituals for me, I wear like the same, not the same underwear or same socks, but like I keep the same like two underwear. I keep the same like two underwear, same like two socks, like on my loop the entire year.
Okay.
So by the end of the year, it's like my underwear's got holes in it, the socks have holes in it, but I keep wearing it.
That's fair.
It's especially if I'm doing well this year. Like last year,
Right.
I had a really good year, and I just kept wearing the same, kept wearing the same underwear out there for the game.
There we go.
Whether it was superstitious or whether it was actually working is anyone's guess. But baseball players are funny like that. I mean, we all have our little idiosyncrasies and specificities out there, and it makes the game fun because the season is so long. It's like you got to have a certain level of routine, to be able to keep your head straight for 150 games. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna judge you for it. You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, I can't say if I was playing well on the mound, I don't want to keep the same pair on either. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. Absolutely.
And I have one more final pregame question. Did you ever have like a pregame playlist or hype songs or songs you'd listen to before going out on a mound?
Yeah, so one from this past year that I listened to a bunch was Houdini by Eminem.
That's a good song. That's a great song.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, that came out I think in the spring of this year, and I listened to that song a bunch during pregame. Whether it was working out or whether it was just doing my posture and prep work prior to the game, but that was a song that I listened to a bunch this year.
That's a great choice. That's very valid. Very valid. But Chase or Jackson, do y'all have any further questions before you wrap this thing up?
I do.
I don't think I have any more. All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank our viewers out there watching this interview for taking time out of your day to tune in and hear these special intakes by yet another former MLB pitcher and current minor league pitcher. And I want to thank you, Aaron, especially for taking time out of your busy schedule, I'm sure, during the holidays to come talk baseball with us. I mean, this is an absolute blast. This is why we love baseball, and this is why we love interviewing baseball players like you, because we get to hear these different perspectives from our fan viewpoint that we might not get to hear on a daily basis. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and enjoy your holidays. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk baseball, man. It's always great to be able to expand the knowledge base of the game and to give these perspectives out there to the fans, because It gives them an inside look on how the game really works on the minor league side and on the major league side as well. So I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
The honor's all ours. Absolutely.
Mhm.